My mic is working, sir.
Welcome to our Tuesday, March 12th agenda session. Have a motion on the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have a number, well, actually only 3 ordinances on final read. Is there anybody that needs to go over any of those 3 items on final read? Stephanie?
Clerk. That takes us down to ordinances first read. These are planning items. Councilman Ledford, we did cover these last week, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We covered all items on our agenda.
Unless there are questions, I am going to ask the clerk to read D as we have an alternate version, and then I would like the city attorney to go ahead and tell us what that change has been, or Mr. Bridger, if you don't mind, even come up and clarify it. Madam Clerk, let's read D, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, Sections 38.2, 38.185, 38.187, 38.321, and Article 6, Division 2, other special exceptions relative to creating a special exceptions permit for contracts, businesses in the C2 convenience commercial zone.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bridger, the difference and the reason that we have a new alternate version, can you give us a quick
Sure.
brief on that, please?
This is to give council some flexibility in looking at particular sites. In some cases, if you're doing a contractor storage, there might be a similar business nearby, and so you may not want to screen that adjacent property line if you got a similar type business nearby. So this at least allows you to consider that on a case-by-case basis, and so we replaced the wording in item 4D of the original ordinance, and so the new language would read, outdoor storage areas shall be screened from all adjoining properties and public rights-of-way. Exceptions to the screening for situations where the abutting property uses are similar in character to the proposed use may be considered on a case-by-case basis by City Council as part of the special permit review. Such requests must be applied or requested in advance by the applicant as part of the special permit application. So at least going forward, they need to indicate their desire to do that, so that gives staff an opportunity to review it and kind of give some guidance, as well as Planning Commission, and then you can kind of hear those 2 points of perspective before you make a decision at council.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right. Any other planning items where there may be some questions at this time? Seeing none, we have a couple of Public Works and Transportation ordinances. Council Mitchell, those were covered last week. Anybody have any questions about those? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's move on down to resolutions. 7A, please.
A resolution to amend resolution number 29142 to repeal resolution number 28503, adopted on January 19, 2016, and adopting new rules of operating for the Chattanooga City Council.
All right, I think there were a few questions about this earlier there. Councilman Oglesby?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. In reference to the conversation we had today at 1:30, I will be making an amendment to change the 5-minute rule to 3 minutes.
Okay, we'll make that amendment at 6 o'clock, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further, B, please.
A resolution authorizing the activation of the Open Spaces Partnership and Animation and Community Enhancement Program to be available for use in all City of Chattanooga parks and open spaces for the cost of park rentals for organizations and individuals that meet the criteria set forth by Open Spaces for an amount not to exceed $50,000.
C, please.
A resolution authorizing the payment to the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute training to be held at the Chattanooga Fire Training Center on April 30, 2019 through May 3, 2019 for a cost of $15,000.
D, please.
A resolution authorizing Collins and Company to pay in all claims for city employee Martin Santos related to the specific diagnosis for a job injury settlement under the city's job injury heart-lung program for a period of 3 years from the effective date of the settlement agreement and release of all claims for an approximate amount of $36,000.
All right, seeing none, E, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Human Resource Officers to renew an existing agreement with Russ Blakely and Associates LLC to provide benefit advisor and open enrollment services and act as agent of record for all benefit options at no cost for the first of two optional renewal terms from April 1, 2019 through May 31st, 2020.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I see no lights, but I do have a question on this item. I don't know, Beverly, Madeline, whichever one of you may want to. Hey, Madeline. This is, when it says renewal, are we renewing the exact same agreement? Has there been anything added to it?
Not a thing. It's just the contract was written for 1 term plus 1 term plus 1 term for a total of 3 possible 1-year contracts.
Okay. And when
No
it says,
changes.
sorry, go ahead. When it says provide benefit advisor and open enrollment services, what exactly what are they doing? Is
What are
that
those
advising
services?
Our HR, and then you're working, or then HR works with the employees, or are they working directly with our employees?
They do work directly with the employees. They provide open enrollment meetings during times of open enrollment. Those are all performed by members of the advisor group, and those are usually done in those departments where our employees don't have access to computers. So it's usually the departments like Public Works, some of the other departments too, but primarily Public Works, and they go out and do those face-to-face. They also have a few that we do here at the City Council room, also at the DRC during open enrollment, and they help to put all the communication package together. So they it's called a Brain Shark, and I hope all of you have seen it. So during open enrollment, a lot of the information is given out on the city's weekly FYI, and during times of open enrollment, we put it out more than weekly. But there's actually presentation that has audio with it, and it's that entire presentation, talking about the open enrollment opportunities, what the benefit package is, when kind of changes we might be having, what the rates are, that sort of thing. And so if you haven't seen it in the past, please do this year because it comes out a lot, but it's available on email. But for those employees who don't have email, this group helps us to provide that face-to-face information to them, and then they provide a question and answer session. They also provide us with those benefit guides that I hope you've gotten every year. You should be.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
See no further lights. We'll move on. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Human Resource Officer to renew an existing agreement with ComSite Corporation to provide employee assistant program services to eligible city employees at the rate of $1.15 per employee per month and $1.49 per employee per month for sworn employees for a second 1-year optional renewal term beginning April 1, 2019 for an approximate annual cost of $36,850.
G, please.
A resolution to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Adam Kinsey to the Chattanooga Housing Authority Board.
H, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to accept a cash grant from the Recycling Partnership to provide grant funding and technical assistance in support of the city's expansion of the curbside recycling program in the amount of $913,200.
Actually, we covered this other item, but let's go ahead and read it since we did the first one. I, please.
A resolution to amend resolution number 29653 entitled, "A Resolution Authorizing the Administrator for the Department of Public Works to apply for and accept, if awarded, reimbursable funds for the curbside recycling grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for an amount not to exceed $750,000, to accept reimbursable funds for the curbside recycling grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation in the amount of $1,254,000.
Thank you. J, please.
A resolution authorizing the city purchasing agent to enter into a blanket contract with Compass Auctions and Real Estate LLC for the provision of surplus property disposition facilitation services for 2 years with the option to renew for 3 additional 1-year periods.
All right, thank you very much. That ends all of our regular agenda items. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we get to the ECD department report and the YFD committee report, I would like to take this time to announce that we will have a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting next Tuesday after agenda session, and as well as the usual agenda items for the following 2 weeks. We will also be covering something at the request of Councilman Henderson, and I'd like to ask him to bring up what that is, if you would.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is Mr. Holland still in the building somewhere? He's trying to fix the door?
This is locked.
Oh,
Trying to get it so it's not.
She usually needs a key. Do you not unlock the door?
okay. There he is. You a locksmith now?
Yeah, the last few minutes I have been, sir.
Mr. Holland, Councilman Mitchell just noted that next week we're going to have a Public Works committee meeting. And I had specifically requested that since sort of the discussion around the WWTA has sort of drifted over into our lane, I was wondering if you could bring us a presentation on our contractual agreement with the WWTA as well as our sort of working agreement with them. And I guess more specifically is how do we impact the issue that the WWTA is having over in the North Ottawa area? If you could kind of bring us a little presentation and present that to us next week.
I'll be happy to
over
do
those
that
issues. if
during,
you-
during committee meeting on next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yes, sir.
We'll be happy to prepare something for you and be ready for next Tuesday.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Holland. All right, with that, we are ready to move on to our departmental report from ECD.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So it's that time again. Once a year, I come back and give you guys an overview of how the city is recommending that we use the federal money that we receive from HUD that's called our entitlement funds. Because I know YFD, who some have said is the best department in the city, erroneously, of course. I know YFD is behind us, and Coach has threatened me to keep it short. And I do everything the coach says. All right, so slide 2. Am I doing this right? There we go. Okay, in all seriousness, the purpose of this is really to give you an overview of the funds that we expect to receive from HUD. These are anticipated amounts, and we won't know for sure what the amounts are until approximately May of this year. So there are 3 buckets for entitlement funds. The first is what we call CDBG funds, which are community development block grant money. Just to give you an overview, that money can be used for the 3 things that you see above. Decent housing is fairly explanatory, self-explanatory. But under suitable living environment, that would include infrastructure, parks, public facilities, blight elimination, the things that affect the community as a whole, as opposed to a specific citizen or individual. And of course, expanded economic opportunities. Our home funds are very specific to housing, have 2 categories: housing that's for sale and housing that is for rent. The housing that's for sale can address households up to 80% of the area median income, whereas the money for rental is for folks whose income is 60%, does not exceed 60% of the area median income. And then our ESG money, that's the smallest part of the funding that we receive, and that is primarily for social services for those topics that you see there. Okay, so I say we as if I did it. Sandra Gober, where's Sandra Gober? Sandra Gober is the mastermind of all of this. She is the manager of community development and housing, and her team every 5 years does the consolidated plan, which takes a considerable amount of effort and a lot of community engagement. As a result of that, these are the areas that are in our consolidated plan that we follow and have told HUD that we will be following. So these are the categories, and if you have any particular questions about them, otherwise I'll run through them real quickly. We talk about this all the time: increase our supply of affordable rental housing, as well as creating more opportunities for home ownership for low to moderate income households. We preserve our existing housing stock. As I know some of you are familiar with the construction trades, and it is in fact easier, cheaper, faster to retain the properties that we have as opposed to building everything new. So we're focused on preserving existing housing stock. Social services and housing for special needs, that would include our veterans, kids aging out of foster care, et cetera, et cetera. Improving opportunities for citizens to access and retain affordable housing. There are a lot of folks who are eligible and qualify for income restricted housing, but we all need to do a better job of letting them know who they are and where that housing is. Support for stabilization and development through public improvement and strategic coordination with housing activities. That's a long way of saying that we have entities that receive our money, so we are the recipients, and then we allocate funds to subrecipients. One of those subrecipients is CDOT, and CDOT does sidewalk and other infrastructure in qualifying neighborhoods. And we also use part of that money for demolition. And then promote economic development activities in the city. You all probably remember we've had a relationship with BrightBridge. Now that contract has been transferred to the Southeast Development District, South Tennessee Development District. They handle what's called our 108 loan. That's money from HUD that is used specifically to enable businesses that hire folks from low-income census tracts. So that is a loan product where we use a portion of our allocation and put it into a loan fund, and that is now managed for us through the Southeast Tennessee Development District. Any questions? Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing for the first 5. Oh, do we have a question? Chairman?
No,
okay.
go ahead.
So let me say this. Donald Williams doesn't make these numbers up. Sandra Gober doesn't make these numbers up. They are non-negotiable, and HUD does not call us to ask us if we agree. So these are the numbers that HUD gives us every year to determine who is low to moderate income. In fact, this has very low and extremely low. You guys don't see this much because our friends at the Housing Authority do a really good job of addressing some of the needs of the low and extremely low citizens. But these are the numbers for households, okay? And you'll note that 2018 income limit, that's the for a household of 4 in our area in Chattanooga. Cool, so how much money do we expect to receive? Again, these are projected numbers. We will know for sure in May. And we have, as I said before, CDBG funds, we have home funds, and we have ESG, Emergency Solutions Grants funds. Those are the amounts that you see there that we anticipate receiving. Okay. So you may ask, what is program income? Program income is money we get back from money that we have out to subrecipients, and it goes back years and years and years and years. Some of that money is low interest loans that we've made for housing, and when that money is returned via our subrecipients, then we're able to put that money back to work. All right, so this is the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant slide. These are the applicants, and toward the end of the presentation, you will see the process by which we get applicants and notify applicants that the funding is available. So you see what we are recommending for funding. To the far right, you will see the amount that was requested by that particular entity. Do you all want me to go through them individually, or? Okay, the chairman shaking his head no. Okay, so when we get to the point, if you have some questions about those, we'd be happy to talk about them. This is more for CDBG. Okay, I will point out that there's one that you'll see, Exodus Ministries, where they requested $40,000, and we, the group, our staff and the advisory group, is really recommending zero. They're so new that we just really felt like they didn't have the administrative support to meet all of the guidelines, the administrative compliance requirements that we have with the federal money. So we recommended zero for them. And this starts our home allocations or recommendations. Stop me if you have any questions. Oh, let me point this out. You see where it says minimum requirement for CHDO, we pronounce that CHODO, set aside. The federal government mandates that if there is a CHODO in any particular jurisdiction, that they get 15% of the allocation off the top, and we only have one. So we have the Chattanooga CHODO, and that is 15% of the anticipated allocation, and that's non-negotiable with HUD. If there's more than one, you can do a competitive process, but we happen to just have one. Okay, ESG, Emergency Solutions Grants. There you go. We only have $140,000, and these are the two entities that we are putting forth as recommendation to receive funding. I should say that the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Health Department, they have been amazing to work with. So many citizens that have been in homeless camps, the health department, their staff is just, I can't say enough good things about them and how they quickly respond and how easily they work with our staff to get folks housed. Okay, now this is important.
Oh, sorry. Councilman Ledford?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Are you ready for a couple questions?
I am.
I know you just seem like you're ready for questions. I have two questions. Page 5. Actually, we're on page 10, so let's start here.
Okay.
I see Critty's. Sorry, I know the organization. So
okay, you see
I
who?
see that you're 31,000, but you're recommending zero.
That is correct. Oh, Chattanooga Room in the end.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we are recommending zero because their 31.2 was to do services, was to support families that are actually, the process is being supported by other entities. So through their intake, and the Homeless Coalition, they work with the Homeless Coalition, will take the intake, and then the folks at the health department will actually perform the service. So it was a duplication of efforts.
Okay, thank you. And can we go back to page 5 real quick?
Sure.
When we're talking about the 61,700, can we talk a little bit about what that number means and qualification levels and where that number has it changed from 2017 dramatically?
Ooh, that's a good question. I used to know the answer to that. I don't know. Do you remember what the delta was on that one? Okay. So what Sandra's saying is that there's about a $2,000 delta up from the previous year, and that's the number we get from HUD for a household of 4.
Okay. And will you just explain to us a little bit, if you're below that number or above that number, what's going on?
Sure. So if you are at 61,700, that is the median of households in Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. So half the people make more, half the people make less. And then they use that number to calculate what is 80%. So anywhere from 80% downward, you are eligible for low to moderate housing. At 80%, that's what we consider, and HUD considers, moderate housing. And of course, anything below that is low, very low, or extremely low.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make that.
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Go ahead and go on, Donna. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any press here, but this is very important. These are the census tracts as provided to us by HUD. You will see census tract numbers. If those census tracts are highlighted, that means that 51%, minimally, 51% of the households in that census tract are low to moderate income households. 51% or greater. Okay. We got that from HUD, who I'm assuming got it from the Census Bureau.
Hang on, Donna, 1 second. Councilman Gilbert.
Just a quick question. Is it next year that they do this over again every 10 years?
Oh, thank you for that. This is a 2010 census, so it'll be 2020.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because you'll see when I get to, I think it's the next slide, that a lot of that we expect that to shift. So like in Councilman Oglesby's district, St. Elmo used to be a low to mod, used to be a census tract, but it's not anymore. Because no longer do 51% of the households make 80% or below.
Oh, you still got another one, Councilman?
One quick
Go right
question.
ahead.
Do the city work with the census people when they come to the city and start trying to collect data of everything? Do we work with them on far as putting things together?
The chief has the answer to that one.
Okay.
I'm super excited, just like last week when it popped up here and said, I've got an answer. The Census Bureau has what they call complete count committees, and different geographies can choose to form a complete count committee. So we formed our complete count committee. We have over 50 people we've invited from area community organizations, faith-based, nonprofits, schools, folks from all over the community coming in. Anyone on the council who wants to participate in that, we'd love to have your help, because it's going to be an all-in effort to try to make sure everybody gets counted, because we know that traditionally underrepresented folks tend to be left behind, or people who aren't comfortable filling out forms from the government. So we're going to have to really go above and beyond. We have kind of a once in every 10-year opportunity to get everybody counted.
So are we going to do any media? Because I think last time, most people didn't know how important it was for them to register, to make sure that they ensure that they have money in their areas. So I hope that we do some advertising so they can understand how important this is.
Yeah, and this is the first year that it'll be digitally available to people, so we'll have a whole new opportunity to get people to fill it out online. So we're partnering with the library and all sorts of different folks. But yes, we will be doing advertising, and we'll send you all a brief on what the Complete Count Committee is. And if you're interested in setting up a follow-up conversation, we'd love to have that offline.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Good, Councilman.
Yes.
Okay.
And Councilman, you raised a good point, because the amount of money that we receive, per the slides I showed you previously, are dependent. They're used in the calculations to let us know how much funding we receive. So if people aren't counted, we're missing out on the opportunity for funding to serve low to moderate income families. All right, so keep this slide in mind, this one here. By way of example, you see Census Tract 124. That's the census tract I live in. And when you look at this, now keep in mind, this is 2010, as some of you have noted. When you look at it, I said to Sandra, see that last one at the bottom, ML King, Fort Wood? So I'm like, I live in Census Tract 124. Percentages of low to mod, 68.17. Population, white, 64.1. African American, 28.5. Hispanic, 2.1, so on and so forth. So that didn't seem right to me. And Sandra said, remember, this was 2010, and that the census tracts don't take the name of the neighborhoods literally. We use those as general ideas of where the neighborhoods are. So my neighborhood, ML King, Census Tract 124. Census Tract 124 actually goes all the way, it goes much farther than ML King or Fort Wood, but that's just to give people a general idea of the vicinity. And then this teeny weeny print really, I think, depicts how much community involvement we put into getting the information out to the citizens and making sure that what we're presenting to you is includes the recommendations that we've taken into account, advice and recommendations from the public. And some of these are dates required by HUD. So we will be coming back before you, I think it's in April. Yeah, April the 16th. So here's what's happening next. We will prepare the plan, and it's open to the public for a 30-day review and comment. Anybody from the public can do that. And then we'll have a public meeting at the DRC, as you'll see, and then we will take that information, massage it, and bring it back to you on April the 16th.
Councilman Gilbert, your light was on, sir?
Yeah, just one more quick question.
Sure.
We have a great person out here, Housing Authority. I think that her data could help us a lot spotting where people are, so we can actually get them to sign and fill out the census report so we can get more funds for them. So I think that'd be a great partner.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sir? All right, do not see any further questions. All right, thank you, Ms. Williams.
That concludes the report of ECD, the best department in city government. Thank you.
I expect everybody to end that way. That ends our regular agenda session, which takes us to the Youth and Family Development Committee. Good run.
I feel like I should have. Thank you, Chair. Can we get approval of the minutes? Thank you. Now, this is truly the best department, YFD, because we get to actually touch the lives physically. So, you go ahead. If you want to. Okay.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to enter into a blanket purchase agreement with the Electric Power Board to pay client services payment for the citizens of Chattanooga that qualify for assistance under the Low Income Energy Assistance Program and the Community Services Block Grant programs for a grant period of October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019 in the amount of $8,025,500.
Any questions? Please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to enter into a blanket purchase agreement with the Atlanta Gas Lighting Company to pay client service payment for the citizens of Chattanooga that qualify for assistance under the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program and the Community Services Block Grant programs for a grant period of October 1, 2018 through September 20, 2019 in the amount of $138,650. A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to enter into a blanket purchase agreement with Volunteer Energy Cooperative to pay client service payment for the citizens of Chattanooga that qualify for assistance under the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program and the Community Services Block Grant programs for a grant period of October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2019 in the amount of $50,200.
Thank you. So now we'll have our presentation. Coach.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council. It's always a great pleasure to come before you and give you brief updates of our various successes and the opportunities we've had to touch the families throughout the city of Chattanooga with all that we provide through youth and family development. I would agree we are indeed one of the best departments. All of the team members and colleagues that I work with We touch families and provide services in various ways, in different ways, but all of our work is just as important and the impact is great. So I feel privileged to be just a part of the team, and thank you for all the support that you provide throughout the opportunities you give us. Today, we have an opportunity to highlight our Office of Family Empowerment. As you remember, about a year ago, we rebranded the Social Services Division, and we created the Office of Family Empowerment because we wanted to move from crisis management to truly empowering families to take responsibility for improving their lives and becoming self-sufficient and moving upward in the resources that we provided for them with the wraparound services. And Rachel Howard led this process, and we did a strategic plan that we're working on, and we got community involved and giving us input, feedback, and how we could be more effective and efficient in the work that we were doing. And this is the work that we came out with, and Rachel is going to give us a brief update on where we are and where we're going. We have received additional dollars from the state to do even more for the citizens of Chattanooga, and she'll give you an update on that as well in terms of the strategy that we have going forward and the impact that we're going to make that's even be greater for the citizens in Chattanooga. So Rachel Howard will come and give us an update. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Coach. So as Coach mentioned a moment ago, we are focused on self-sufficiency. I always begin speaking about our work by underscoring our mission statement, which in a nutshell is to change lives and to move families to a place of self-sufficiency, and we do that on a daily basis. I came and talked to you all last quarter about the work that we were doing. I want to update you on those numbers year to date. So this is from July 1st through yesterday. We have currently 10 families that are participating in our Family Empowerment Program pilot. Our goal for this year is 25. We have several families that are in the application process currently, so I expect that number to go up in the next week or two. We have moved 63 families to self-sufficiency through our case management programs. Our goal for the year is 100, so we are on track to meet or exceed that goal. We have had 104 families that have obtained employment this year. Our goal is 150, so we're on track to meet or exceed that goal. We have made 2,717 connections to various community resources and partners that we work with to help the families that we serve. Our goal is 3,000 for the year. This number's actually gone up since we turned in the presentation. We've now served 4,010 families with energy assistance through LIHEAP. Our goal for the year is 4,700. And we have now served 4,589 families in total in the services we provide in family empowerment. Our goal for the year is 5,000. So when I was looking at those numbers, I was struck by a few things, and I wanted to make a graph to show you visually what this looks like. We've been extremely fortunate this year to be able to serve a great number of families in our community. And as of yesterday, we have served 82% of the total number of households that we served in all of last year, so all of FY18. And in our LIHEAP program alone, which is our biggest program, we have served 84% of the total number of households that we assisted in that program in FY18. Also in LIHEAP, this is not on the graph, but we have been able to put approximately $1.9 million toward home energy bills so far this year. That's from July 1st to March. That is more than we spent in total in all of FY18. So our outreach efforts have been effective, and we've been able to ramp up that spending and really help people with their energy bills. So in order to continue that trend of growth, as Coach mentioned, we're implementing a more aggressive outreach strategy into the spring and summer months. We tend to see more applicants in those months because bills tend to spike because it gets warm, and bills tend to be higher, especially for electric customers. We are going to be hiring some additional LIHEAP staff for the remainder of the program period and providing targeted outreach and reaching all the neighborhoods in each council district to ensure that residents are aware of the program and they're given information about how to apply. We have also partnered with Head Start and Early Head Start to ensure that every single family served under those programs has an application for assistance. And we are leveraging our relationships with community partners to ensure that we reach other eligible families through their various programs. We'll be increasing our marketing activity as well to ensure that this year is a record year in LIHEAP assistance, as it's already on track to be. And we look forward to serving more families under this program this year. I have some highlights. It didn't show up. Okay, I don't know where the picture is, but on January 21st, we had our MLK Day of Service. We ask families in our Family Empowerment Program to commit to learning leadership and advocacy, and also to civic engagement and to giving back to their community. So one way we do this is through an annual service project, which is planned and implemented by the families that are participating in the program. This being our pilot year, we had our inaugural MLK Day of Service on January 21st, and it was led by one of our Family Empowerment families. If the pictures were showing up, you would see that we worked in the community garden at 12th Street. We raked out the beds. We organized the shed. We pulled everything out of the shed and straightened it all up and put it back in a way that makes sense. We organized all the other supplies they have out there, got the beds ready for spring planting. We did all of that while it was below freezing outside, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great day. On January 23rd, we had this quarter's family coaches training for the Family Empowerment Program. In order to support the families that we serve in that program, we recruit a diverse group of individuals who serve as family coaches. They are mentors to our program participants. We hold training each quarter for those who are interested in becoming a coach. The training is 2 hours. It covers program components and requirements such as Title VI, and then there's an engaging session in the second hour led by Dr. Banks on how to empower families rather than enable them and help them to achieve self-sufficiency and self-determination. We had a great turnout this time. I think we had 15 coaches that we trained. January 25th, we had a training for LIHEAP for community members and service providers. We've been holding, as part of our outreach strategy, monthly LIHEAP trainings for different targeted groups in the community to help spread the word about the program and to help prepare people throughout the community to help the families that they work with to apply. So January's training was targeted to frontline staff at various service provider agencies and community partners. We had the Housing Authority there, Baby University, Head Start, Metropolitan Ministries, and more. Through those trainings, the workers, the frontline workers, are given the opportunity to get a full overview of the program, its benefits and its requirements, and they're walked through the process of completing an application so they can assist the families they encounter in their work with completing the application process. And then on February 19th, we had our Family Empowerment Cohort Orientation. We welcomed our new families and their newly matched coaches into our program and reviewed roles and responsibilities and goals and expectations. This is also the day that the families meet their coaches for the first time, so it's a fun day for us. It's amazing to watch those relationships be formed and start to grow. The family support specialists, which is what we call case managers, also attend, and they work with the families and the coaches to discuss their plans for the future and for the coming year. And I have a success story for you all. This is Martha. Martha is a participant in our Family Empowerment Program. She is dedicated, she is driven, she is hardworking. And those are the qualities that made her a good candidate for the program. And in the months since she started her journey, she's absolutely been thriving. Every family in the program sets goals. Martha's big goal is to start a nonprofit that will teach girls in the urban core about sustainable gardening. She volunteers regularly with various community gardening efforts, including Crabtree Farms and the community garden at 12th Street. Her passion for gardening is contagious, so very much so that she took the lead this year with our Family Empowerment Service Project, and she organized that day of work. It was very well attended for being as cold as it was, and we all learned a lot from her. She took the lead, she showed her leadership skills, and she taught us how to do the work that she does, and it was fun, and we learned things. We have enjoyed watching her relationship with her coaches grow, that she's been mentored by a couple who wanted to mentor someone together. And it's just blossomed into this amazing relationship. They are very close. They regularly attend church together and other activities in the community. Her coaches have included her as a part of their family, and they have been so supportive and so encouraging of her along the way. It's been amazing to watch. One of Martha's barriers that we identified at the beginning of her journey has been lack of employment. She left the workforce several years ago for medical reasons. And once she was able to return, she had difficulty finding employment because there is a gap in her employment history. So we knew from our work with her in the program that she had an amazing work ethic and a heart for serving her community. So because of those qualities, we hired her as an office assistant in OFE, and she's supporting our LIHEAP program and our efforts to increase applications by assisting clients with applications and answering program questions. The clients have responded really well to her bright smile and her caring attitude. We've been delighted to help Martha gain some valuable work experience that will help her to grow her career. This month, I think in fact today, Martha begins the Business Entrepreneurship Academy through Launch of Chattanooga to move toward establishing her nonprofit. She still has some barriers ahead, but she's achieved a great deal in the past several months, and we're really excited to see where that's going to take her. And that's all. If anyone has any questions?
I did. Oh. Chip? Oh, Darren. Go ahead, Darren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When did you say you were going to reach out to us to help us advertise the LIHEAP?
We're going to be doing outreach in every council district, so we'll have somebody assigned to work that district and provide all the outreach and training.
When?
We're starting the hiring process now to hire those people, so we'll have them in place, hopefully, I would say by the 1st of May, to start working on the spring and summer
Soon,
months.
within the next month or so?
Yeah, very soon.
Okay, that's what I was going for. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, Chip.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rachel, you mentioned there was 63 families that achieved self-sufficiency.
Mm-hmm.
What's your criteria for determining that they have achieved self-sufficiency?
That's a good question.
Well,
We
thank
use
you.
a state-approved assessment tool. So
I'm sorry?
we use a state-approved assessment tool that we design in collaboration. Every agency does theirs in collaboration with the state because every community is different, so every assessment is different. Our assessment tool assesses the family at intake, at the midpoint of their case management period, and at the exit. So there's what we call a prevention line, and its score of 5 or higher on that assessment will put you above the prevention line. The prevention line is the difference between dependence and independence based on the criteria on the scale. So when a family's score moves above 5, they are considered to have reached self-sufficiency by the state standards.
Okay, you answered my question, but I still don't understand anything you just said.
We do have a copy of it. I can share a copy of it.
Okay, let me give it to you another way. Is it just getting employment? Is it being able to pay your bills on time? Is it having food on your table? What determines that 5 or whatever you said, that level of going from dependence to independence or whatever?
It's a combination of factors. We assess them in, I think right now it's 9 different categories. So we look at their previous involvement with social services agencies and how much they depend on agencies for their sustenance.
Okay.
We look at employment. We look at education. We look at transportation and childcare and those things that keep you from sometimes keeping employment if there are barriers for you. So it's an aggregate score of all those factors combined.
Okay, so if you, let's just say you've scored, okay, you have transportation, I don't know, maybe you're going back to school, you're achieving education. At some point, that aggregate score gets you above that. So all of these people have done something, I'm assuming, to better themselves.
Yes, sir.
To go from being, to self-sufficiency.
Yes, sir.
Being insufficient to self-sufficiency, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's a measurable, and you say it's by state guidelines?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, send me the
Sure.
the state guidelines, if you will.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
I'd like to see that. The marketing activity that you mentioned, and Councilman Ledford hit on this a little bit. I've got 2 very active neighborhood associations in my district. One of them is, well, right now at least, in that low-income census tract.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't ever remember y'all coming and presenting even the energy assistance program, much less any of the other things. Do y'all have plans for frequenting these neighborhood association meetings where the people are coming and we can get the word out, or?
Yes, sir. Part of what we're doing now is developing the entire outreach strategy, but we'll be targeting especially the neighborhood groups, the churches in those communities, the schools, and the community organizations that are based there to try to make sure. And we'll be using the YFD centers as well to help get the word out to the residents of Chattanooga.
Okay, so I should start seeing you at some point at some of these neighborhood meetings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the energy assistance program, I have had people call me before saying they were having trouble getting hooked up or getting on the energy assistance program. Is there a lot of criteria, a lot of things that they have to meet in order to get on that, or, I mean?
There are criteria, and those are set by the federal government. We don't have control over those here. There's a lot of documentation that they ask for, and I admit it's a lot. but we're required to supply those things in order to approve the application. So we do everything we can in our office. If somebody is having a hard time obtaining that documentation, we'll do whatever we can to help them get it.
What kind of documentations do they have to have?
They have to have a state-issued ID for the head of household, which is a barrier for some people in itself. Proof of social security numbers for everybody in the household, so that's verifiable only as far as the state.
Everybody in the household?
Mm-hmm. Everybody over 1 year of age. So that's a barrier for some people as well.
Yeah.
We do what we can to try to coordinate. If they receive SNAP assistance, we try to pull that information from the state system if it's available to save them a trip of trying to run around. We do what we can to try to pull those things. 8 weeks proof of income for everybody over 18 in the household. And they have to have 12 months of energy usage that they provide to us. EPB gives them a real simple printout, but the gas company won't do that, so they have to bring 12 bills. And so it can be cumbersome, but we do whatever we can. Our staff's why we have extra staff that are there working on LIHEAP to help people that come in and help them gather what they need.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Gilbert, did you? Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate the efforts of making sure that we're doing targeted, getting out into the communities of every district. I think that's important because I've been on council 2 years, and this is the first that I've seen
Absolutely.
the Office of Empowerment to go out into the community. Now, I have seen little flyers, but that's, to me, not getting people
we're gonna
not
do
reading
boots on
that
the ground.
information. Right. So, but a question.
Okay.
If the system that you already had in place were reaching the people that you say you're doing well at and you're almost exceeding that goal, what prompted the additional outreach?
Every year, the state asks us to provide an outreach plan, and we just always try to up ourselves from the last year. We always try to do better than we did the year before and hit more places, talk to more people. We've been having more targeted events where we work with service providers, and so I think what's worked well for us this year so far is working with our partners in the community that also serve families and helping them because they see people that we don't see, or they see people that need our help in addition to their help. And so working with them to identify more people to apply has been really effective for us this year.
Then also, I just had to soak that in, what you just said, but it's great to have the directors to come and present over what you're actually doing for the Office of Empowerment, but I would love to see the people that's actually working to come talk about those success stories that actually have that one-on-one interaction, like Al Tucker or Thomas. Some of those guys who actually get to see the people over and over again, those are the individuals we need to hear from, right? Because they have that initial impact. And I do want to thank you for making sure that the young lady that I sent to you, that her bill was taken care of. It had been in that stagnant phase, and she was concerned about why that the energy bill wasn't taken care of. So thank you for jumping on that to get that done. So once we come out into the community, my question now is based on the outreach. So what do you mean by outreach? Are you just going to the location, setting up a table and in hopes that people will come, or are you gonna canvass, knock on doors, or?
The plan is to do a combination. We want to have a presence in the community, so someone would be assigned to each community, to each council district, and be available, probably at a YFD center, maybe at a church or some other community-based area. And we would advertise that place so people would know where to go and who to reach, combined with going out to places, going out to neighborhood meetings, going out to churches and talking to people on Wednesday night, going out and just meeting with the people in the community and letting them know what's going on.
So Troy and Ms. Deborah, they've been working with a group of people and also with the Family Justice Center. And we have people who are hard to employ, people who want to get back into the workforce. I would love to see some of those individuals to be hired in this process, to actually be the feet on the ground, knocking on doors, making sure that this information is given out. Now, is the only way to access this, the LIHEAP, is it through paper application? Can you go online and access it?
There's an online application on the state of Tennessee's website. They would still have to supply, they have to scan in their other information, the supporting documentation. They can also fax it to us, they can email it to us. They can send it in with the mail. We get a lot of just mailed in applications every day. If people are homebound, we'll try to work with them and come out and help them fill it out. We have a lot of resources to make sure that people can fill out the application and get access to the service if they need it.
All right, and if you can supply me with some copies, I don't mind
I'll give you a ton of them.
distributing them out. And when you come to District 9, I don't mind going to knock on doors with you
Okay.
as well, because I think the services need to be, people need to be made aware of it. And then also another issue that I've had, and Bird Light will get you, but the process, if you can help me understand the process once somebody applies for it, because last year and this year I had those same complaints about the bill just wasn't getting taken care of after they've been told that it would get taken care of. So what does that process looks like, and what's the time frame from the city of Chattanooga actually sending a check to cover it?
For LIHEAP or for other services?
LIHEAP.
For LIHEAP, we have to process applications within 30 days. And so within 30 days, they will get a letter letting them know their status, if they've been approved or denied. If they've been approved, if they've gotten a letter saying they've been approved, it's mean we've already run the payment list and forwarded that to the vendor. After that, we have to submit the payment list through the city's payment process, which is its own process. It goes to requisition, then it goes to purchase order, and then the check is cut through the AP process.
Okay, well, so now I could better, explain that to my constituents, because they're expecting for the payment that just
Right.
happened that way. But now that you've explained the process, it helps me to articulate that to them as well. So I'm excited about the great things that you're doing. I'm gonna let Bird go ahead. It's your questions.
If a constituent today called and was like, hey, I need some help, I need some services, what would be the number and the person they would ask for?
They would call our office at 643-6434. If they talk to somebody, I would have them talk to Christina. She's our frontline person, and she can help them figure out the best next step for them.
Christina?
Christina, yes.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Any other questions? Well, I got one more final question for you. So when you're thinking about going into because this is important, to empower the community or to just make them aware of the information on how they can apply for LIHEAP, how does that empowering the community looks to you? Is it just, like I say, setting up tables or canvassing efforts, or is it that it's going to be a festival type music, we're going to draw people to us, or?
We've talked about all those things, and we're still finalizing our strategy. Once we have the final strategy, I'll be glad to share it with all of you so you know exactly, and dates and events. Something else we'll be doing is, I don't know if y'all are all familiar with Empower Chattanooga through Green Spaces. They do workshops in all the communities to help people learn how to save money on their home energy. And so we're going to be partnering with them and being present at all their community workshops to help reach that population as well. Because if people are there, they're already interested in saving money on their electric bills, and we can help them to do that further. So we'll be partnering with some other people in the community and other organizations as well to make sure that we're reaching as many people as we can. Yeah, and if y'all have ideas, we'd be glad to hear them.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
empowerment looks to me that we want to make sure that people are just not coming just to get the light bill paid,
Right.
and then that's it, and then they
Right.
know the next year they can come back and do the same thing. But what's going to empower that individual to not have to rely
Right,
on the
exactly.
system, right? And do you have like the demographics as far as the people that you're serving, how many African American, how many Caucasians, if they're women, male, single?
If you would like that, I can pull that and send it to you. Absolutely.
Yes,
ma'am.
I'd like to, because I'd like to know in my district how many people are being
sure.
served. All right, one more question. Gilbert?
Yes, do we have any kind of partnership with EPB for getting a discount for the families that we serve?
We don't have.
Do we have a
anything.
partnership with them any kind of way? Can
No.
we sit there and can we negotiate something with them so it can lower?
I think that's been brought up by a couple of agencies, but that's way over me.
Cause it might be a possible, well, here come Chief.
We looked into this a while back. There are some cities that have attempted to do a rental assistance programs through their utilities, and we're currently preempted under state law. I'd be happy to send you the provision, but it's deeply frustrating, and
Yes.
any information, I'm happy to share the research that we did on the program so you can review it and take any action you feel like is necessary with the delegation.
So we need to talk to our state representatives and send them to help our people, their people also.
Yes, sir.
Correct? All right, thank you.
All right, anything else? That'll be it. Thank you so much. I
Thank y'all.
appreciate it. And we're adjourned to 6 o'clock.